First, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakha Kadash. And double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakim that's going out there in the four quarters of the earth, proclaiming this truth, speaking against corruption, and exposing Esau at every chance that we can, as well as edifying others by giving them the truth, that Yahweh and Yahweh Shai are not the images that we were given. And in fact, that's what their real names are, and that the so-called white man is the devil. And so what's happening is the white man, the Edomites, are coming to their end as they are fed up with the government, and, they thought that they was going to get change, because Barack Obama was supposed to bring change. Now with Donald Trump, they thought he was going to make America great again, but now they can see that he is just prolonging the war, and just doing the same shit. As if these fuckers did not already know that the deep state runs everything. So anyhow, then this is music I listen to as well, depends on what your tastes are, but, ex-Pink Floyd singer denounces white helmets as propaganda tool during Barcelona concert. And if you hadn't seen some of the Roger Waters footage, he shows Donald Trump as a pig in there. But English singer Roger Waters, a member of Pink Floyd and a non-solo performer, denounced the controversial Syrian group White Helmets, which we know that those are the terrorists. You've seen Syrian Girl and others tell you that they're really Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all that. They just put on a different uniform. During a concert, saying that they exist only to create propaganda for jihadists and terrorists. The tirade came from Waters on Friday during a gig in Barcelona, which took place just as the United States, the UK, and France were preparing an attack against Syria based on falsified reports provided by the White Helmets. A week before that, the group produced photos and footage of what they claimed to be aftermath of a chemical weapons attack by the Syrian government on the town of Douma near Damascus, which was held by an armed group called Army of Islam. Addressing the audience, Waters said someone had asked him on the stage to speak about Douma and the alleged chemical weapon attack. The singer said that the person and he had different opinions about the situation in Syria. Well, here's another buzz that just came up right here. We can read this. So let's go ahead and read this one. I ain't even done with the other article yet, and things are popping up. Esau is against Esau. Satan against Satan. Make no mistake about it. Moscow has irrefutable evidence chemical attack in Syria Douma was staged, Russians envoy to OPCW. And that's just the latest that come up. And here's, what they destroyed, And then you can see Yemen on the other side. So one side here of what they supposedly hit in Syria, and the flip side of Yemen, which, both these wars are illegal, but the deep state, they run the government. Of course they do. So anyhow, let's get back to that article because I wasn't done reading it. Here's a little excerpt there. Basically the White Helmets is a fake organization that exists only to create propaganda for jihadists and terrorists. That's my belief. We have opposing beliefs, he explained, as seen in a video short from the cheering crowd. Waters explained why he didn't support the cause furthered by the White Helmets. If we were to listen to the propaganda of the White Helmets and others, we would be encouraged to encourage our governments to start dropping bombs on people in Syria. That would be a mistake of monumental proportions for us as human beings, he said. What we should do is go and persuade our governments not to go and drop bombs on people, and certainly not until we have done all the research that is necessary so that we would have a clear idea of what is going on, he added, because we live in the world where propaganda seems to be more important than the reality of what's going on. And if you listen to the Roger Waters' latest album, it's called Deja Vu All Over Again, or that's at least... Actually, I think the album's called Is This the Life We Really Wanted? And the song is called Deja Vu All Over Again, which is basically what we're living out, because they're trying to convince us that he has weapons of mass destruction. Have we heard that before? I think we have. That was said about Iraq. Nick Haley, United States will stay in Syria forever and ever. U.S. troops not leaving Syria until goals accomplished. Haley, U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, said on Sunday that the United States would not pull its troops out of Syria. So you see, it was a ploy to stay in there. That's what this attack was really about, as a ploy to stay in Syria. And then, of course, here's some footage of, Syrians celebrated the thwarted attack because, again, 71 missiles were shot out. So this was a fluke. It was a total fluke. The United States has garbage for weapons. And, well, you can see everywhere here. Oh, yeah, that's another thing I wanted to get into. If this fucking thing will fucking work, fucking goddamn Esau. Okay. Yeah, see, it's not letting me. Anyhow. Yeah, Alex Jones is encouraging people to stop new strikes in Syria. And that's another one that... as part of the alternative media. He recently, and what I believe footage that didn't quite make it, or might have been on, it was probably on Infowars.com, but I mean, he just is totally going off on this whole thing, and I could show you a little bit of it, because I think you'll find this interesting, because... these Edomites, they're thinking, though, that they could stop this war, or that they had a chance, or that Trump was their guy. Remember, Alex Jones got everybody to vote for Trump. Even Trump called in once. All right, hold on a second. I'll show you what happens with Alex Jones, and I think you'll find this interesting. This has been posted quite a bit, so you may or may not have seen this. Hold on a second.
Going on the fucking damn it, man. What the fuck? Is there nobody fucking pure in this goddamn fucking world? See, now I'm fucking pissed right now. Syria fought Al-Qaeda, they fought ISIS, they fought it all. And now you got Mattis and fucking all these people shitting all over us. And the goddamn fucking liberal fascists censoring us everywhere the last 2 days. We did an emergency fucking 36-hour broadcast trying to stop this shit that could lead to World War III. And you fucking liberal pieces of fucking shit, you fucking assholes, fucking support this. Fuck you. You fucking goddamn degenerate fucks. And fucking Mueller and fucking Comey and fuck you. Every major analyst, see, I shouldn't even be on there right now. Every analyst agrees this could trigger World War III unlike anything in our history. And the Russians were the good guys battling ISIS and Al-Qaeda. I'm not a Russophile. I've never been to Russia. But I've studied the geopolitics. They are the white knights. And our military 5 years ago joining the Russians to block Obama and the Arab Spring and do the right thing, did the right thing. And now, Mattis looks like a fucking Emperor Palpatine. When that cocksucker knows full fucking well that Al-Qaeda and ISIS staged all those fucking chemical attacks. And now they're blaming it on the goddamn motherfucking... I shouldn't be on there right now. When the fuck are we going live? I can't do this shit anymore.
We're ready to go live.
Fuck Trump and fuck these fucking people. At a certain point, man, I'm sick of all you fucking liberals and mainlanders. You're a bunch of cowardly fucks. You're not Americans. What's going on?
Hey, we're ready to go live.
Okay. Should we shut these feeds down and delete those? And I'm going to try to control myself. Dude, just shut those feeds down and restart them, okay?
So, anyhow, you can see, though, that Alex, says it all there. Fuck Donald Trump, fuck all these assholes. So, we're going to read the Syrian Arab News Agency here. As you can see, though, that the attacks were thwarted. And I'm going to show you the coverage of this, because I was sitting there watching roughly myself, and I just... seen how weak these weapons are. This is a great thing, because of course, we want the deep state to fail at everything they do, and it's really good to see them failing, you know. Oh, yeah, here's another one. A girl martyred, 15 civilians injured after leftover shell goes off in Raqqa. A girl was martyred and 15 other civilians were injured in Raqqa City with a shell of U.S.-led coalition's remnants detonated. The U.S.-led coalition claimed to have liberated. So, again, this is somebody that the United States had killed. Oh, they are definitely not going to show this. You know, see, that's why it's good to not listen to the mainstream, because you don't get all that's going on, because they only want you to know certain little information. So here we go. Here's the archive of what actually did hit. The U.S.-led coalition, fucking piece of shit. The U.S.-led God damn it! Hold on a second. Just fucking Satan fucking with this shit. The U.S.-led coalition claimed to have liberated the city of Raqqa from Daesh, ISIS terrorist organization. Local sources told Syrian Arab news agencies that the shell exploded on Monday in Al-Jazra neighborhood in Raqqa City, claiming the life of a girl and injuring 15 others, not to mention the material damage. The sources added that the hundreds of unexploded bombs and shells still remain tucked in the streets of Raqqa, which the U.S.-led coalition and Daesh left behind, posting a grave threat to the lives of civilians. So, that's what really the fight against ISIS is. Okay, I don't have much time left here, but I'm going to show you how well these U.S.-led missiles work, because they're a goddamn joke. They're a fucking piece of shit, just like all Edomites are. Shalom, yeah. Esau's really fucking with the stream, where you can't see anything, but this is some of the life. Again, he was fucking with it big time. This is some of what the coverage is. I don't know if this is even fucking goddamn playing. Fucking goddamn Esau. Oh, this motherfucker. Alright, I don't think I'm gonna get it to fucking play. But anyhow, Rupley also showed a bunch of shit. This ain't even gonna fucking play. Fucking goddamn Esau. But anyhow, the Russian military defense had actually caught most of the missiles anyways. 71 shot down. I'm just gonna go to something else here. Hold on a second. So anyhow, what's happening though is that Satan is divided against Satan. I'll try to bring up more, because there's a lot more flag burnings, and just all around pretty much what's happening is this is going to lead into martial law. Make no mistake about it, because most people are not with what the government is doing, but they cannot stop this war because it is the Most High that's bringing them into this war. Okay, so this is an article from InfoWars. The U.S. tries to undermine the credibility of the fact-finding mission in Syria even before it arrives at Duma. And that was from Moscow. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov has refuted claims of the UK delegation of the OPCW that Russia and Syria denied access to the organization's mission to Syria's Duma. Oh, so they're trying to play that shit. You see, Iraq all over again. The words of the senior official revoiced the statement of the Russian embassy in the Netherlands that said earlier in the day that the U.S. was attempting to undermine the work of the OPCW that was set to start the probe into the alleged chemical weapons attack in Duma, the same day the United States, UK, and France launched a missile attack on Syria. And again, they were duds. I wish that the videos would play, but fucking goddamn Esau doesn't want this fucking thing to work. Pretty much, though, what's happening is Esau's divided amongst himself, and his kingdom is not going to stand much longer. So I hope this has been edifying. Sorry I couldn't get any scriptures. Only got 15 minutes. So, Until the next one, Shalom.
Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. I want to send double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to send peace, love, and salutations to all y'all Akim out there pushing the word in sincerity and in truth and in diligence. This is a video going in on, the current news. And basically, I was listening to this interview talking about how there's tapes of Hillary Clinton and on the dark web committing all types of wicked, disgusting, demented, sacrificial, pedophilia, fucking snuff films, make it just being the despicable demons that they are, man. That the Bible speaks of. We tell you people that the so-called white people are the seed of the serpent on the planet Earth. When you read in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that out real quick. You go to Genesis 3. And you go down to the 14, 15 verses. Oh, yeah. Genesis 3, verse 15, it says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, talking about the serpent. When you start up in verse 14, it says, and the Lord power saith unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast on the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, okay? And thou shalt bruise his heel. All right, so you can see when he talks about the seed, it says, it shall bruise thy head. When you start in verse 14, we know that the Most High is sending this prophecy through the angels, to the serpent, man. So the word is going out a message is going out to the serpent that your head is going to be bruised, okay? And it says that there was going to be enmity between thee and the woman's seed, man. So the serpent's seed is on the planet Earth having enmity with the seed of the woman, man. All right? And we all understand that, that when you get down to the nitty gritty, that woman has passed that seed line down to the nation of Israel. Okay? So now we see the seeds of Satan doing their demonic will on the planet Earth, man. All right, the Clinton Foundation and all these other higher up elites. When you listen to these stories, man, they really get down into these blood sacrifices on the left hand side, and they do this stuff, man. Chopping up babies. Well, I'm gonna play a couple of clips and go into it, man, a little bit and just talk about it a little bit, because now these things are being revealed. Now the skirt is being lifted up on Babylon, and all these soothsayers and all the witchcraft and all the lies and the plots. Everything's coming out, man. Everything's coming out. Okay, but I just wanted to bring this out. Let's listen to this.
Here we told you that the New York Police Department had indicated that a sickening pedophile sex video featuring Hillary Clinton was in their possession and could be released to the public. According to investigative journalist Liz Crokin, sources within the NYPD claimed the video is the Rosetta Stone of information connecting senior politicians such as Clinton to an elite pedophile ring. According to Crokin, there is a video of Clinton engaging in a sexual act with her aide Uma Abedin and an underage girl. Well, now we can confirm that according to sources, this video exists, and that although it was allegedly being held under the tightest security by the Justice Department, a bootleg copy has been stolen, and that this video has now been made available for viewing on the dark web. Multiple sources within the FBI and NYPD have confirmed the existence of this sickening Hillary Clinton sex video involving Uma Abedin and an underage teenage girl, and provided assurances that a faction within the department has vowed to send Hillary Clinton to jail for the rest of her life. A small faction within the NYPD have been pursuing leads and identifying key players implicated in an elite network of sickos and perverts, and have identified former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton as someone who, under normal circumstances, would have been arrested by now. NYPD detectives privy to the contents of this video have been getting their ducks in a row, preparing for its release, explaining that, quote, "We are not just talking careers on the line, we're talking about lives. We have to get it right." According to QAnon, the infamous White House insider, President Trump's recent announcement that he's going after high-profile child sex offenders is directly linked to the video, and that its availability on the dark web came just as the president signed the controversial Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, FOSTA, and
So if y'all been paying attention to the news, y'all know that Trump just signed this fighting online trafficking, but he has previous things that he has signed in, talking about he's gonna get these pedophiles and these people that run these pedophile rings and all this and that. So right now, what they said, what the some people in the alternative media believe that there's this thing called QAnon online, and this QAnon is messaging people or messaging the world to let people know that Trump is fighting for America and all the patriots. And this is why originally, you got Alex Jones and X22 Report and Paul Begley and all these other people really believing in Trump because they think that he's fighting for them. Well, we're going to see. But we do understand that information is coming out and that these people are divided, man. And we know the scripture says a house divided against itself shall not stand. Okay, so there's a lot coming out, man. And man, when we in these last times, it's going to be revealed. I want to read this real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2. It says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof." And that's what we're seeing here in America, who basically, when you read Romans the 11th chapter, this is the spiritual Egypt, man. And we're seeing also when you read in the scripture in Daniel, it talks about how the feet was iron mixed with miry clay. I mean, that shows you that the counsel of this place is weakening, man. The spirit is failing in this place, and that's why this place is being more and more revealed. But check this, what it says. It says, "And I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards." Okay? And so that's what, that's what's being revealed, man. These sacrifices that are being made, all these dark secret councils is being revealed. But the Most High is not going to give them no strength in that. He's going to show how his righteousness is going to overcome them. All right? Isaiah chapter 29, verse 15, it says, "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark. And they say, Who seeth us, and who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, He made me not? Or shall the thing framed of him that framed it, he have no understanding?" And that's what these people are trying to do. They think that they're going to be able to go and use this left-hand magic so that they can do their will on the planet Earth. But the Most High is laying a snare for them. We talk about how Esau is having a snare laid for him with the sword, with these thermonuclear missiles. He's developed all this high-grade weapons technology, and he's going to use it on himself in World War III. He's going to destroy himself. But even also his deceit, man, the tongue of the serpent, man, is falling on himself, man. Okay? So all this, it's not just Hillary Clinton. It's man, all top officials in government, in government politics, in economics and finance, in the media, in Hollywood. This stuff spreads out in all the major institutions that rule this current world, and it's being revealed, and these people are coming up against each other. Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit more.
The Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, SESTA, targeting online sex trafficking. A senior detective says Anthony Weiner, the accidental provider of the video, was the first domino to fall. Jailed for 21 months on underage sex charges, including production of child pornography, the former congressman's computer is a hive of repugnant filth that implicates numerous high-level bureaucrats. According to NYPD sources, files found on Weiner's newly found laptop, which he shared with his wife Uma Abedin, show evidence of a political pedophile.
Boom. So, but this dude Weiner, whose wife is Uma Abedin, the aide to Hillary Clinton, on his laptop, man, it was just, man, you just like, what the hell? Allegedly, they got files and files and files, and it's not just him just doing nasty stuff. It's implicating all types of people that are involved, and there's all this Pizzagate, just these child sex rings that have been going on for decades.
File ring operating within Washington, involving members of Congress, as well as numerous top Clinton aides and insiders. According to reports, a folder on Weiner's laptop named Life Insurance contains explicit evidence that both Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin helped run and cover up a Washington pedophile sex ring. Weiner is the first in a series of high-profile perpetrators that will be spending time behind bars, according to the NYPD.
We'll see.
The NYPD has said, "We have to make sure everything is as tight as a duck's ass. These are extremely powerful people we're dealing with. Any
Esau always saying something gay, man.
semblance of a loophole, and they will wriggle out of it again. How many times have we seen that before? It's not going to happen again. The security of our republic is at stake." According to former Assistant FBI Director James Kallstrom, Bill and Hillary Clinton are part of a crime family who have created a cartel to bribe and intimidate top officials whenever one of their crimes is under investigation. During a radio interview with John Katsimatidis, the former Assistant FBI Director took aim at the Clintons, outlining a pattern of sexual abuse, intimidation, and cover-ups spanning decades. Kallstrom said, quote, "The Clintons, that's a crime family, basically. It's like organized crime. I mean, the Clinton Foundation is a cesspool." Kallstrom, best known for leading the investigation into the explosion of TWA Flight 800 in the late 1990s, said that Hillary Clinton is a pathological liar and predatory sex offender, and Bill Clinton is a serial rapist whose crimes have been covered up by successive generations of corrupt officials on the Clinton payroll. Liz Crokin, a journalist who has dedicated her career to exposing the fact that leading government, entertainment, business, and religious leaders are involved in a massive satanic pedophile cult, has asserted that a sex video featuring Hillary Clinton will prove once and for all that the Pizzagate conspiracy theory is true. Citing an article from Newsweek about...
Yeah, man. So they basically they saying that they got enough to basically get Hillary, and now they're gonna move forward. Now I was watching one video that was made back in January that was saying all of this stuff was gonna drop in late April, and now we're hearing a little bit of rumblings from it coming a few months after that. So dude may be right. We're gonna see. We don't know what's gonna happen, but we know basically Esau's tongue is going to fall against himself in all of these type of ways, and it's going to lead to this nation being destroyed. Okay, this is Psalms chapter 64 verse 2. "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who seeth them?" Okay? And that's how these people are. But now the Most High is showing you that he Going to lift up those skirts. He's going to reveal this place, man. It says they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and their heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Okay? And so we're going to know it in this word that's coming out. We're going to know it with these guys like Donald Trump being set up to bring stuff to the forefront and move us forward into these geopolitical and geoeconomic changes, World War III, the mark of the beast systems. Okay? We're seeing it, man. And it's going to culminate in the Most High putting it into the minds of the people to shoot these arrows meant for destruction. The Most High put it into these people's spirits to make nuclear weaponry. Okay? But this was a video I was listening to I found interesting because they want to highlight the fact that Trump, from the time that he's been in there, or since he was younger, he's always been a rebel, and that this rebel spirit is the patriotic spirit coming to fight the globalists and the elites. But really, it's just the Most High plan to reveal everything and push things to the forefront. That's all it is, man. The Most High is not with America, and you always saw this type of stuff, even in the scriptures with the ancient kingdoms, man. You'll have a new leader rise up and move things at an exponential rate because the Most High is determined for his will to come on the planet Earth. Okay?
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country.
I hate when they put that music.
Country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election,
and these guys really think that they're gonna save America, this wicked ass place, man. They really think that Donald Trump is just a regular dude that just rose up and buys bootstraps and got $1 billion, and now he's gonna come because he loves America so much, and save the day. No, man. All of these Edomites are pieces of crap, man. All of them are satanic, witchcraft, warmongering pieces of crap that drink blood. Donald Trump does the same stuff. He's just on the other side, and they all just, the Most High is really just putting it in the minds of these people to kick up confusion and dust, man. There ain't nothing but a bunch of confusion, man. And people are starting to see, man, this place is out of whack, man. This place is completely out of control. Okay? And so, we can see as more and more of these tumults between the peoples here in America, between all the other nations that are being gathered in the Middle East in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, we coming down into something, man. This is Nahum chapter 3, verse 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, and that's America, man, Mystery Babylon. It says, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. All right, and these elites, these George Soros, Clinton Foundation, all these, the CIA and the United Nations and all of these different institutions that spread this witchcraft, because they got all these leaders. When you go to the World Economic Forum over in Davos, it's in Switzerland. Every year in January they have this meeting called the World Economic Forum, and it's basically top people in government around the world, top Fortune 500 companies and different companies, international companies and brands, and basically celebrities like Brad Pitt will show up, and all these other celebrities that show up to the World Economic Forum, and they have open forum meetings where they talk about these generalized topics, but then they have secret meetings that no one is allowed to go to. They're only the top. That you have to be specially selected. Everybody get different, like a different tab or a card or a letter, wristband. I guess how they. I don't know how they. However they do it. If they get like a little card that allow them into certain things or whatever. And what you think they doing at these secret meetings, man? Shoot, man, all manner of whoredoms, man, and witchcrafts. Okay? Verse 5 says, though, behold, I am against thee, says the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. Everybody gonna look, man. Let's get that word, gazing stock. Is Ra'aya. Ra'aya. And it says looking, appearance, seeing, sight, appearance, a spectacle or a sight, a gazing stock. It says an example. And so, hey, that's what's being prepared. That's why you got all this stuff coming out, man. With basically, she's on camera with her aide, got a little girl strung up or however, making the little girl go down on them. And then they cutting the girl up, drinking her blood, because they cut her face or whatever so they could drain her blood. And because they want her adrenaline to be in the blood. So that, that's part of one of those rituals of Molech. And they drink the blood, and basically they just chop the girl to pieces, man. These people are demonic. They really doing this stuff, man. It's not a joke. The Most High's got to put a stop to these people, man. These people are literally demons. They are the seed of the serpent. Okay? They are the seed of the serpent. It's not just Hillary Clinton. It's the whole line of Esau that's ruling the planet Earth, man. Ruling, bro. They got America set up as their hammer. Then they got these different international governing bodies that they use along with their central banks to implement their plans, man. And you best believe that they got it all rocking. And Donald Trump is an Edomite. At the end of the day, he's an Edomite. Okay? The spirit is on these people to infight and come against each other because the Most High is getting ready to bring down the whole house. Okay? It just is what it is. That house is divided. This is Luke 11:17. He says, and he, knowing their thoughts, talking about Yahushua, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought into desolation. And a house divided against a house falleth. And that's what we're seeing. Okay? That's what we're seeing. Verse 18, if Satan be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because ye say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. Okay? But basically, that's what I'm just explaining, is that we're seeing this house fall up against itself. And they're using Trump, and the spirit is on Trump to just to keep the fire rolling all throughout Mystery Babylon and all across the world, man. Okay? Let's see if there's any more on this.
Will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty.
Donald Trump meets in secret with international banks.
In order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt...
Oh my gosh. You know, that's all I'm going to play on that. But, you know, it just shows you how this house is divided against itself. And how all these people, you see all these Mueller and whoever else is that's all up in the government and all this back and forth that's going on. It's gonna just culminate into ultimate destruction, and that's what we're gonna see, man. That's what we're gonna see. This is Jeremiah chapter 23, verse. Well, you know what? I don't want this one. Nope. I want Job. Job chapter 34, verse 22. It says, "There is no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves, for he will not lay upon man more than right, and he should enter into the kingdom. With the Most High. He shall break in pieces mighty men without number, and set others in their stead." Okay. And then I think there was a scripture in Job 24. Let me see. I'm just going to read a little bit, read bits and pieces here in Job 24. Job 24:1 says, "Why seeing times are not hidden from the Heavenly Father, from the Almighty? Do they that know him not see his days?" Okay. "Some remove the landmarks, they violently take away flocks and feed thereof," man. We understand who's removing and changing borders and landmarks and places of people's heritage. Who's done that? It's been a seed of the serpent, man. You Edomites, you so-called white people. Okay. Verse 4, when you skip down, says, "They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together." Verse 6 says they reap everyone his corn in the field, and they gather the vintage of the wicked. Going down to verse 13, it says, they are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. And we're here to bring light unto the planet Earth, man. We're the ones that are directly opposing the witchcraft and the demonic nature of the seed of the serpent, man. Hillary Clinton and all the rest of the Edomite families that are ruling. Okay? Because ultimately, this whole place has got to go. And so if you with America, you with the Western philosophy, which is directly against the scriptures. All right, if you with that way, you're doomed for destruction, Trump included. Okay? It says in verse 14, the murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. All right, and that's how these people do, man. They set you up, and they want to come in the cover of darkness. They literally do all these satanic rituals in the cover of darkness, man. But it's being brought to the light because of their pride. It says, in the dark they dig through houses, which they have marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light. You see? For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death, like a damn vampire. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. Okay, so if they're revealed, if they're seen, if they're known to the planet, they're in the terrors of the shadow of death. And that's what's happening. That's why all these things are being revealed. That's why more and more information is coming out. And that's why we understand the prophets and the people that are locked and linked in into the spirit. We see that we're coming into those last times, man, where these top elites that's really all linked together, they're being exposed and brought down, man. Okay? I'm going to check this last little thing and see if there's anything on this left.
About a Russian internet troll who claimed to have worked for a propaganda agency that produced a fake Clinton sex video that was designed to be released during the 2016 presidential election in order to help Donald Trump. Crokin insisted that a real Clinton sex video does exist and that the Newsweek article was just an effort to condition people to dismiss it as fake once it was released. Asserting that it was no coincidence that Newsweek posted this article since the magazine is an arm of the deep state and employs known pedophiles, Crokin said that a genuine sex video featuring Clinton, her top aide Uma Abedin, and an underage girl was discovered by authorities when they seized the laptop owned by Abedin's husband, Anthony Weiner. Everybody is wondering in anticipation about this video that the NYPD and the Justice Department are in possession of. This video in particular is alleged to have Hillary Clinton, Uma Abedin, and a very young girl. It is reported that the New York Police Department viewed this video of Hillary, Uma, and this young child. When viewing this, these officers vomited uncontrollably and cried incessantly. Some, if not all, of the officers have not recovered from this and are to this day undergoing psychiatric therapy. So one has to ask oneself, what would make grown men, police officers, break down and cry uncontrollably and vomit? Now, warning, this is very graphic. It has been reported that the video is now available on the dark web, along with still images from the video. The dark web is the underbelly of the internet and contains access to files, videos, and images such as this horrific photo of children tied to their chairs at a dinner table where a human being has been slaughtered and roasted like a Thanksgiving turkey. Will these children become the dessert at the conclusion of the meal? In the video of Uma Abedin and Hillary Clinton circulating on the dark web, the two are seen terrorizing this little girl. They fillet the child's face off while she's alive and put it on their faces to further terrorize the child. They are deliberately causing the child's body to release adrenochrome into the bloodstream so they can then drink the blood when they bleed her out in their satanic ritual sacrifice of her. They also rape her and force the little girl to perform oral sex on them. There are thousands upon thousands of more videos and pictures that the New York Police Department, as well as other authorities,
Thousands, bro. Thousands. This is just one little girl that they was cutting her, filleting her face, putting it on themselves, man, like on some straight Hannibal Lecter shit, crazy. Drinking her blood. These dudes are demonic, man. This is the seed of the serpent. They be doing this shit, man. It's in the scriptures, man. You go and you type in Molech, the Queen of Heaven, all those ancient rituals of Molech. You know, I don't even know. Let's see. Rituals of Mo. Let's look at this. I just clicked randomly. It says thoughtcrimeradio.net. Adrenalized blood drinking addiction among the global elite. September 19th, 2013. It says members of satanic cults like the Illuminati are subjected to brainwashing. This is why some of them get obsessed with drinking human blood. It says the adrenaline in the meat is like a drug that makes you feel stronger and powerful. The people who run the modern meat producing industry know this and deliberately design the packing plants to terrorize the animals before they are slaughtered, creating adrenalized meat. People become addicted to eating adrenalized meat and buy more of it. But the practice of creating adrenalized meat is nothing new. In fact, it is an ancient secret art associated with the occult. It says, when I was a child, I knew a farmer who produced adrenalized goat's blood, which generational Satanists like to drink. I drank some once, not in a ritual, but just out of youthful curiosity. I took that lets you know he an Edomite, man. He an Edomite. The spirit is just calling out in him, man. Man. I took a long hike in the woods afterwards where I noticed that I could walk longer and faster than usual. The man who harvested the goat's blood liked to mix it with wine and herbs, calling it mysticated wine. The members of his coven believed that it gave them occultic powers and that they lived longer. I am not a Satanist, but I knew some when I was young and have had some contact with Illuminati insiders in recent years. Something that I have known about, which I think other people should know about, is that among the generationally wealthy Luciferian aristocrats, there is a habit of drinking adrenalized human blood. They do this shit, man. For these aristocrats, the ideal form of human blood is from a healthy child who is ritualistically sacrificed. Such adrenalized blood is really an addictive drug. The difference between the adrenalized meat that you have eaten and the adrenalized blood that the global elite drink is like the difference between chewing coca leaf and smoking crack cocaine. Former FBI Special Agent Ted Gunderson, when he was still alive, often pointed out that the FBI kept exact records of every bank robbery in America, but couldn't tell you how many children go missing in this country. You know, it says this blood is. It says they are killed and their blood is harvested. This blood is given to wealthy Illuminati aristocrats who are addicted to drinking it. Not all billionaires are blood drinkers, but some are. This practice has gone on in secret since ancient times, and it still goes on every day. Welcome to the real world. See, he's just kind of touching in on it, but there ain't nothing new under the sun. They was doing it back here When they used to worship Molech in the ancient times, you had these sacrifices, man. Well, they would sacrifice these children. And they would drink their adrenalized blood, man. Pour it out, man. They would pour it out and drink it, man. And they felt like it gave them life and vitality, and they still hold those customs even until this day. Okay? All you gotta do is just kind of look it up, man. All right? So the Most High is going to bring judgment to these people. Okay? Last scripture, and we can wrap it up. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 11. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in its going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. That's what we're getting ready to see. The Most High is going to bring ultimate destruction to the wicked, the seed of the serpent, for their iniquity, man. And he's going to bring down their arrogancy. These people, like Hillary Clinton, they thought that they could just get away with this forever, man. Pass it down to the next generation. Live, until, and just drink and live and party and just do all types of madness, man. The Most High he's going to cut down this pride, okay? But I just want to highlight this, man. This is that video breaking Clinton Aberdeen Pedogate video found on dark web. So you brothers want to go listen to the rest of it. It's an interesting listen. It just kind of really highlights how demonic these people are, man. Hey, call halal, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua, Bashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, the great millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to y'all. I'm out there pushing the word sincerity and truth. Shalom.
It's the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Pires coming to you from Baltimore. Turkey's military and Islamist rebel group supported by Turkey took over the Syrian city of Afrin on Sunday. Afrin is a largely Kurdish area that had been under the control of the leftist Kurdish armed group, the Popular Protection Units, known as YPG. The Turkish offensive forced hundreds and thousands of civilians to flee over 2 months of brutal fighting. After seizing the city center, jihadist rebels embedded in the Turkish army immediately began looting civilian homes and burning down Kurdish properties. Turkey's victory represents a major blow to the Kurdish movement. It also raises questions about the purpose of the war in Syria altogether. The U.S. had been supporting the YPG in its fight against ISIS, but the Trump administration appeared to tacitly support Turkey's invasion when the Pentagon told YPG fighters they would lose support from the U.S. if they went to Afrin to fight Turkish forces. Russia, a key supporter of the Syrian government, also green-lighted Turkey's invasion of the north. What does this mean for the balance of power in the region? What does it mean for the war in Syria? Joining us now to analyze this is Patrick Coben. Patrick is a longtime Middle East correspondent for the newspaper The Independent. His most recent book, published by Verso Books, is The Age of Jihad. Patrick just returned from northern Syria, where he was able to speak with the Kurds and Turkish forces. Thank you so much for joining us today, Patrick.
Thank you.
Now, Patrick, from what we understand, the Kurds in Syria were hoping to establish some degree of independence in Syria, an autonomous region they were hoping for. Now, for a while, it seemed that that was possible. What does Turkey's intervention here and takeover of Afrin mean for the Kurdish aspirations?
Well, it is a bad blow. The Afrin, the enclave that the Turkish army and these Arab militia, who call themselves the Free Syrian Army, but actually seem closer to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, The enclave is separate from the main territorial area where the Kurds are living, so it was very difficult for them to defend. But it's pretty disastrous because there were a bit over 300,000 Kurds there, and 2/3 of them have fled. So we're almost certainly going to see serious ethnic cleansing there and Arabization of this area, which has been traditionally Kurdish.
Patrick, one of the reasons that the Kurds were able to hold on to Afrin was because the Russians basically allowed them. Russia was protecting the area with their air force. When it withdrew that, when the Turkish forces saw opening there, what motivated Russia to withdraw its air cover from Afrin and let the Turkish forces move in? Explain this alliance.
Yeah, I think the reason this happened was that you have an alliance between Turkey and Russia. Russia is kind of keen to detach Turkey from NATO and the US. Now, in the middle of January, Rex Tillerson, who was then US Secretary of State, made a statement which had explosive effects. It said the US was going to stay in Syria, although it had promised the Turks that it would pull out after the defeat of ISIS, of Islamic State. It said that it was going to roll back Iranian influence, that it was going to seek a transition, so President Bashar al-Assad would leave power. He is, of course, a close ally of Russia. So it was a very ambitious program. It was also, the US was also going to stabilize Syria. Now, the effect on the Russians, I think, was that the US was playing a bigger role than before. The Turks felt that the US was going to guarantee the Kurds, this sort of de facto Kurdish state in northern Syria, and decided that they got together in Moscow, the Turks and the Russians, and the Russians agreed that they wouldn't, they control the airspace over Afrin, that they would not prevent Turkish aircraft operating, and they'd okay a Turkish invasion. That's really the reason it happened. Now, Afrin is a bit different from the other Kurdish areas, because the US has never said that it would protect that area. It has said that about the rest of the area, that sort of the YPG, essentially by the US Air Force, had taken from Islamic State.
Now, of course, what does this now mean for the U.S.? Now, the Syrian Kurds and the YPG were important allies of the U.S., and as a ground force against the government of President Bashar al-Assad, they were fairly effective and supported by the U.S. Now, has the U.S. lost its grip now? If so, does this mean that this will make it easier for Assad to regain control over this region?
Well, They both want to be influential in Syria. Turkey was already had bad terms with the U.S. The President Erdogan of Turkey blames the U.S., wrongly to my mind, for an attempted coup against him, a military coup against him in 2016. Russia wants to take advantage of that, and is doing so. I think it's part of a sort of change in Syria on the ground. That what you notice now is that there are really sort of three big players. There's President Assad, who's retaken a lot of Syria. Most of the population are living in areas that he holds. Then you have the Kurds, who have about 25% of Syria, backed by the US. And then you have this area in northern Syria where you have Sunni Arab militias backed by Turkey, and now you have the Turkish army there. So Turkey is the big player in that area. So, and you're having this sort of consolidation that down in Damascus, eastern Ghouta, the last sort of big stronghold of the armed opposition, is falling to Assad's forces. And up in the north, Afrin, this Kurdish enclave, is falling to the Turks. These three enclaves are all consolidating.
So then what's next for Syrian Kurds? Will Turkey remain in Afrin and really compromise and prevent further efforts by the Kurdish independence or autonomous region that they're seeking?
Well, in Syria, the Kurds say they're not seeking independence, they're seeking sort of autonomy within a united Syria. But that would be very autonomous. I mean, they're very well organized. They've kind of created a de facto state up in the northeast of Turkey, which is northeast of Syria. They've been pretty effective in doing that. Will they be able to maintain it? Well, you know, the priority for Turkey, we know it's got whatever it is, 80 million inhabitants, is to get rid of this Kurdish de facto state in Syria. They're putting on a lot of pressure. They've got a very large army. It's difficult for them to invade because US planes are overhead, but it could happen one day and probably will.
Can we draw between what happened in Eastern Ghouta and what happened in Afrin over the last 2 months and Sunday in particular?
Well, the Kurds think that, you know, the international attention was all on Eastern Ghouta. The media attention was there, and nobody was paying much attention to Afrin. Although, you know, similar things, similar bombs were falling, you know, hundreds of people were killed. And this was similar to Eastern Ghouta, but it really didn't get much media or political attention. Now, the Kurds think that the Turks thought this is a good moment to step up their invasion. It started on the 20th of January, but they sort of launched a fresh offensive to take Afrin city, which captured it on Sunday. So I think that had an effect on what's happening on Afrin. In many ways, the situations in these two enclaves is pretty similar. Both are being bombarded. In both cases, a lot of civilians are being killed, and a lot of people are trying to get out.
Patrick, you wrote that some 200,000 people had fled Afrin in the last few days, suspecting that they will never be able to return home, which means that they will join the 6 million refugees that have already fled Syria. Now, Afrin, I understand, is a fairly quiet place, a place where you would call home. Now, will they be able to return at any point?
Well, you know, about 2/3 of the people have fled from Afrin, according to the UN. And, you know, they're on the road. Some can't get out, or they'll not be allowed into Syrian government territory. About 100,000 have registered with the UN, but the real figure is probably about twice that. So, you know, this is a pretty terrible condition, particularly as Afrin was one of the most peaceful parts of Syria. It's a very fertile area, a lot of farming land and so forth. And really nothing had been happening there during the last 7 years. And suddenly the whole place is, you know, being devastated. As you say, you know, there's a lot of looting. You can see film of you know, these militiamen driving away tractors, looting the shops and so forth. So, you know, and then we have these videos of fighters, Arab fighters, saying we're going to get rid of the Kurds, and Arabs who've been displaced elsewhere will come here. So we're having a sort of demographic change on a big scale in this place. Where the displaced people will go, maybe they'll go to the main Kurdish region. That seems quite likely. Maybe they'll sit in camps around Aleppo. You know, they just join this great sort of swamp of human misery that we have in Syria.
All right, Patrick, and thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll certainly be back to you very soon.
Anytime.
And thank you for joining us here on the Real News Network.
First, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four corners of the earth, preaching this word out and risking your lives to do so. As we're at the time to the end, as you've seen all throughout the weekend, the March for Their Lies propaganda, you know, and this propaganda is so they can have full control. We know that this is not a real protest because you can see it happening in every city. Just like the Ferguson riots were staged, so are these, but this is not agent provocateurs. This is just another Sandy hoax. And of course, because they want the guns, they want to grab the guns, except that this time I don't think you're going to see Alex Jones trying to detest what they're doing, although I haven't watched InfoWars in a long time. I only brought up that one clip just to show you that Austin was one of the Strong Cities Network, and Alex Jones did report on that back in 2013. But I haven't watched Alex Jones in a long time. Not that I don't know what the fuck is going on, but, you know, as another elder had brought out that if you're not out teaching, you're not in this truth, so don't even try to lay claim to that. Just whatever you're doing before you go out there and teach is searching for the truth, which is where I was, searching for the truth, because I wasn't getting it in Stretch Christianity. You know, Stretch Christianity would not tell me who the devil was. You know, they just wanted me to believe that the entity Satan just runs alone and he's a tempter. You know, but he just runs alone, that he doesn't have a race or anything, you know. They definitely never talked about Esau or Edom, and they never, ever really went into very much detail, you know. So, and I say this much, though, those that go to them churches, most are not searching for truth. They just want something to tickle their ears, to make them feel good. It's a place where pretty much terrorists, which is what I call Edomites, the terrorists gather to make themselves feel good, you know, even though we know that all they do is destroy lives. But thus there's a race called the Edomites. So, you know, that you have the March for Their Lies protest, which you got to laugh out loud, right? Which is why I called this Laugh Out Loud, you know, aka LOL. You know, March for Their Lies, because, you know, it just shows you how many mindless TV robots there are out there, that they actually think that this is real, you know, and so they want to go out there and protest, and their teachers are behind them and the police is behind them. What up with that, right? You know, but you can't go out there and say impeach Trump, impeach Obama, or the goddamn piece of shit fucking Caltrans will come and take your signs down and possibly even arrest you. You're subject to arrest, but they will definitely shut your shit down. If you do any Trump protests, or you organize a rally against the government or what they do, but it's okay to rally for gun control. You see what I'm saying? Doesn't make any sense, does it? So you know this is a staged event. You know that Jade Helm was the practice of the takedown in martial law. You know, so they're looking to go through, as we know that this is the year of prophecy. 2018 is the year of prophecy, and we're seeing prophecy unfold as they are gathered, his mountain of troops, which is what Armageddon means. Donald Trump is gathering his mountain of troops to battle for that day. They call it the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is really the battle of Yahweh's judgment, because he's about to judge the nations. Started with Edom on down, and all these nations are going to be in slavery very shortly here. But you're not going to hear about any of this in the so-called church. So, you know, anything prior to, you know, going out there and teaching is just searching for truth. You're searching for the truth, but you just, this is a new song and you're just beginning to learn it. But you're not, quote unquote, in the truth until you go out there and teach. You know, which is why, you know, as I was searching for truth, couldn't find it in the church. You know, and here's another thing about faith, you know, how do I have faith in what Apostle Tahar and Great Millstone teaches? How do I have faith that that's the true doctrine when I've been, quote unquote, brought up in the Christian doctrine all my life, right? You know, but it never had any answers. All they told me was shit out lies, you know. Some bullshit that, you know, when somebody transgresses against me, that I'm supposed to just forgive, just up and forgive him, and, you know, to always show him compassion, right? Because they take these scriptures out of context, you know. They won't tell you that what Yahweh Shai was talking about, nor do they call him by the name, by the way. They won't teach you that Yahweh Shai was talking about people within the brethren, right? But these so-called Christians are supposed to be the brethren, but yet they're the most backbiters. They're the ones that talk hellish shit about you. Not that we don't have that amongst our own, but at the same time, though, these Edomite churches, man, it just, nah, man, it really sucks. So how do I have faith in what Apostle Tahar and Great Millstone teaches? How do I have faith in that? Because it's the only thing that makes any sense. You know, you take a good look around, you've been living a lie, you know, and they just quite simply put have run out of lies. That is, if you've been searching for truth. And again, people don't go to them places to search for truth, but you know, if you're in the mix of that, because where do you search for truth? You're trying to pray to the Most High, but you don't have the name yet, you know. Thus, you were searching for truth, but you were never told this, you know, before. This is a new song. These are new things. So how do you have faith? Well, you just take a look at things, and most of all, you read to find out, wait a minute, is this breakdown actually true? Is this what it really says? Actually, that makes a lot more sense than that Edomite that was trying to say that you're supposed to love everybody, right? You know, that Jesus, quote-unquote, loves everybody. But you never had answers. They definitely never told you who the Edomites were. They never really told you who the devil was, but yet, if you despise what another does, if you despise the hypocrisy, if you despise the person lying on you, talking shit about you behind your back, you want to fucking beat their ass, oh boy, you never hear the end of it, right? You know, you never hear, you know, that, oh, you got to forgive and forget, you know, and, you know, thus, if you don't forgive them, you won't be allowed in the kingdom, right? So, you know, all that didn't make any sense. But then you get down to the names, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. You know, you get to the breakdown of that, you know, because they're going to tell you all kinds of other names, Yahweh, God, Yahuwah. You know, a lot of people go and call him by that name. And then, you know, of course, the names of the Son, Jesus, Yeshua, you know, Yahusha, you know, and those names don't make any sense. But yet, he said that my name would be in the Son would have my name, right? So the only names that make any sense is Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, you see. You have faith that that's actually the truth, and yet that makes more sense. That those would be the names, you know. But, you know, that's on a side note. You know, that's just the beginning of coming into this truth, you know, of learning this truth before you teach. You know, you're searching for truth, you know, and you find that out, you know, as well as the bigger lies, you know, such as the image of Cesare Borgia. Now, I already had figured out a long time ago, it's like, wait a minute, how do we know that that's the actual truth about who he is, you know? You know, and I got to make a correction here about Constantine, you know, because Constantine did get everyone to worship the Most High. That is, that Constantine's not a white man whatsoever. He's not an Edomite. So, you know, the correction is that Constantine was, in fact, a Jake. He was an Israelite, and he got everybody to worship the Most High. Got all the religions and everyone to worship the Most High, who happens to be a dark-skinned man, a.k.a. black, you know. And and what they did is they took what Constantine had done, and they switched the images, changed them all. And that's how you get your Cesare Borgia image. They whited out everything, the apostles, all that, to make them look like Edomites. So, you know, they pretty much had destroyed everything that Constantine had done, you know. But I'm just going to read out of Jeremiah chapter 21 here, starting in verse 4. Thus saith Yahweh of Israel, behold, I will turn back the weapons of war that are in your hands, which you fight against the king of Babylon and the Chaldeans who besiege you outside the walls, and I will assemble them in the midst of the city. You know, and again, you know, I believe this is talking about when, of course, when Jerusalem was captured, but it was captured again, you know, thus when the abomination of desolation had taken place and we had to flee to the mountains known as the Sahara. I myself will fight against you with an outstretched hand and with a strong arm, even in anger and fury and great wrath. I will strike the inhabitants of the city, both man and beast. They shall die of a great pestilence. And afterwards, says Yahweh, I will deliver Zedekiah, king of Judah, his servants, and the people, and such are left in the city, from the pestilence and the sword of the famine, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into the hands of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life. And he shall strike them with the edge of the sword. He shall not spare them, or have pity or mercy. And so we know that this also had happened a second time when we were brought over here into the land of Egypt, which is, also known as Babylon the Great, that pretty much there was no mercy shown upon us, and still isn't till this day, And you've been brought up in these doctrines of lies because, of course, we were not keeping the commandments, so we were brought here, So, he delivered us over here, and you got the northern and southern kingdom suppressed together, we're both oppressed, and you see where we live. We live in the ghettos and, in diverse places, just, real shitholes, And America's a shithole anyways. I mean, pretty much, Esau has never been good to his own people, You see the attitude even here in Reading, that they don't even like other fellow Edomites who are poor. They hate people that are poor. Now you say to the people, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I set before you the way of life and the way of death. He who remains in the city shall die by the sword, by famine, and by pestilence. But he who goes out and defects to the Chaldeans who besiege you, he shall live, and his life shall be as a prize to him. And modern day Chaldeans is, the fact that we were conquered by the Edomites, so we were brought up in his religion. He had whited out our images, and we've been brought into this system. We were born into this system, but now we're being delivered out of this system. We're learning what the truth is. So we know that we're in the times of the end, because this book was sealed. Daniel had to seal up this book, So how do we have faith in this? Well, fact is that everything else has been wrong, and it's been wrong. That pretty much what you've been taught is a lie. The Pied Piper, aka the deep state, sets off false flags, and yet everybody believes it. They're running to the streets and all that. This is a controlled thing here. And of course, like everything else, everyone's being gathered to fight in Syria, even though there's no reason to go to war in Syria. And we know that Bashar al-Assad has destroyed the terrorists, but you're seeing all these terrorist activities take place because they do this every time. ISIS, or whatever you want to call them, al-Nusra, or any of the other names of terrorist groups, or whenever Assad, gains control in the country, because all the refugees are now returning back to Syria, because it's safe to return to Syria. They got to pop off something so they can stay in Syria. Like you just seen a PMS NBC report about Russians firing on U.S. soldiers. Well, what the fuck are the U.S. soldiers doing in Syria to begin with? They were not invited by the Assad government. So, see, all these things are pretty much happening. I'm sorry I can't go live with this, that it still has to be pre-recorded. I tried to find a webcam. You try to turn this into a webcam, it just doesn't work. I'll still try to get a webcam where I can eventually do live streams, but until now it's just going to be pre-recorded. And like everything else, just stay alert, man, because we're at the times of the end. And so I hope this has been edifying, Again, I did a Sony Cam, and this is the Sony Cam test, and it seems to be up and running. So, hopefully, Lord willing, I'll be able to turn something into a live stream. Until then, though, just going to continue to go out and teach, and also to become more active. And I've just been waiting for my reinstatement with Medi-Cal so I can check in with the San Francisco camp and do that at least every other month, where I have more finances, And so that's what I'm doing. Just, it's, You know how the government is, they take forever, you know. And you don't have health insurance, even though I have Medicare, you know, but you don't have the supplement Medi-Cal. They duck your pay. You get less money, and what the fuck does Medicare really do anyways? Medicare sucks. The whole thing sucks anyways. But that's just it. You've been brought up in the Esau system. So, you know, they're going to march for their lives. You know, and the news is going to be blasted. And they're just go on and on about a Parkland shooting, a Sandy hoax that never even existed. But they're going to make you believe. You know, oh, I have friends and all that, you know, that were there, you know. And we're outraged. We want the government to do something, you know. All propaganda. Folks, martial law is coming really soon. It already happened in Austin. Soon it'll take place in your city because that's what the Jade Hound practice drills were. And they have UN troops. I mean, everything's kicking off. We know World War III has been happening for some time. And they have been using smaller neutron bombs, which are nukes, by the way. They used them on Fallujah. They've used them in Donetsk, which is Ukraine, which the Israeli state is the one that has them, a.k.a. Mossad. You know, gave them to Saudi Arabia. They used a nuclear weapon against Yemen a couple years ago. That was a nuke bomb dropped. I'm sure you've seen the footage of it, as I have. You know, so the smaller nukes have been going up, but soon the big ones will happen. Arrows will fly over here. But he's going to push for the mark of the beast first. And we can see that's happening real fast as he's crashing the dollar. So, again, you know, I want to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who have taught the actual truth about everything, because it's the only truth that there ever was. Everything else has been a lie. You've been programmed. You've been indoctrinated. That's why they call it TV programming. This whole thing is nothing more than a TV program. But those of us, the elect of us, refuse to be mindless TV robots who believe everything they see is real. But they never question what's not real and what is real. But that is, we will no longer be tricked by it. We question everything because we've been lied to for far too fucking long. Shalom.
This is not over. And it'd be a mistake for the Russians to think that this is over, that the fake attack that was pulled off the other night is the end of it. I don't think the Russians fully appreciate that when they step aside from these confrontations, they encourage more confrontations. And I think the provocations will get worse. And I see in this a highly dangerous situation. If the Russians had very firmly put their foot down and said no attack, not even a fake attack that we agreed to so Trump can save face, no attack, then this would have forced, I think, the Congress to come up and ask Trump why he was taking the nation to war when they had not been consulted. And that probably would have stopped the whole enterprise. But it's going to continue. It's going to get worse and worse until finally the Russians have to respond in some major way.
Well, Trump has been far from perfect, but they say you know a man by his enemies. The globalists have hated him so much. They try to destroy InfoWars viciously because I've supported Trump because he got us a decent Supreme Court justice. He was trying to bring billions of dollars a year of jobs back. He's gotten trillions of dollars in commitments, hundreds of billions in new startups. We've seen a lot of good jobs numbers and things. We've got a great economist joining right now to actually look at that. But when you then see his tweets, hundreds of them, I've got right here, we'll go over some of them, where he says the rebels have been caught launching chemical attacks. Hillary founded ISIS. Obama founded ISIS. They invaded Syria. We shouldn't be their Air Force. We had all these debates 5 years ago and 4 years ago and 3 years ago and 2 years ago in the campaign. So then he announces 2 weeks ago we're going to pull out. A week later there's a chemical attack right after the Russians warned the rebels were getting ready to stage it. And no one goes, wait a minute, the president says we're pulling out, the Russians are pulling out, Assad's won. The British head of special forces came out and said, I don't believe Assad did this. He doesn't have the motive. The rebels have done this before. 2 British ambassadors have said that. Ron Paul has said that. We got internal Google documents last year where they wanted to delist myself and Ron Paul. Google admitted they were real. Because, quote, we put out the fake news that rebels had been caught doing chemical attacks and that we were helping Assad. It was a multi-million-dollar contract to delist us, which you've seen much of myself and Ron Paul off Google, because they were directed by the deep state that runs Google. I mean, that's on record, and coordinates with it to shut us up ahead of this. And now Trump, as I said he would do Friday, that's why I flipped out. I said, of course, this isn't World War III, but now this will invite the rebels to stage more, and more sanctions on Russia until Russia responds. And that's what a lot of the neocons like John Bolton want. And someone predicting this is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, best-selling author, paulcraigroberts.org. He's the former, was the father of Reaganomics, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, and so much more. And he joins us to talk about this. He's been on some of the biggest think tanks in D.C. as well. And he's former editor of the Wall Street Journal. This is really, really bad. And I just don't think some of my audience that's mad at me for being mad at Trump understands this is not blowing up one base last year. This signifies, as Haley said over the weekend, we're locked and loaded. We're ready to go. We want to topple Assad. And the Russians have said that's a red line. Now, maybe the Pentagon thinks Russia's going to blink, but we're going to remove Assad to put al-Qaeda and ISIS in charge? This is so immoral. And again, if Trump didn't have a history of understanding this, it wouldn't be as bad in the balance, Dr. Roberts. But we've read his tweets. We're going to show some of them now while you speak. What in the world's going on? Has he been compromised by the raid on his lawyer?
I don't know if it was the raid on the lawyer. He's clearly under attack, or has been, from the military security complex because of his original statement that he would normalize relations with Russia. That statement was a huge threat to the budget and the power of the military security complex, and that's where Russiagate and all the other false accusations that have been used against Trump to force him into a militarist position, so that he now seems to be part of the military security complex that he was going to offend by normalizing relations. So instead, we have the worst relations ever with Russia. So I do think he's compromised, but I don't know that has anything to do with his lawyer.
But undoubtedly, if you look at the incredible Russiagate propaganda in the news, that's meant to put pressure on Trump so he can't have good relations with Russia, and I believe has driven him into the arms of the military-industrial complex that then plays the good cop and says, sure, we'll show them you're not with Russia. We'll basically put more troops on their border, sanctions, new sanctions every week. I mean, I think that goes into the calculus.
Yes, that's what I meant by he's been compromised, yes. You know, Alex, what's so disturbing about this is the willingness of the top officials in the United States government to lie through their teeth, to tell blatant, transparent lies to the whole world. And what's even more worrisome is the world sits there and doesn't say, why don't you stop lying to us? We don't believe you. They act as if the Americans are telling them the truth. And it's an extraordinary thing. So when the Russians actually raise real questions and ask, provide real evidence, they're said to be engaging in propaganda. But when Nikki Haley, for example, lies through her teeth, she's telling the truth. Assad's guilty. Russia is guilty. We don't need any evidence. You see, they never give you any evidence. There was never any evidence of anything, of the Malaysian airliner shot down, the Skripal poisoning, any of the alleged chemical attacks. It appears that this last alleged chemical attack by Assad didn't take place. There was no chemical attack at all. It wasn't even a chemical attack staged by the mercenaries that the CIA has there.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, we showed some footage earlier, and we have a government that got caught lying about babies out of incubators, had a fake actress go up and say it all. It was really, 20 and said she was 15 or whatever. So we have a right to question all these, and I'm sure chemical attacks happen, but we showed footage earlier where, I mean, it looks like bad acting out of, a high school play of the people collapsing from nerve gas, and they're saying it's VX. As anyone knows, you even get around VX, even treat people that have been VX'd, it kills you. So, I mean, this whole thing, the white helmets have been caught chopping people's heads off. They've been caught working for Al-Qaeda and ISIS. It's just insane.
Oh, yeah, the white helmets are an American propaganda organization, and their function is to pretend that there's been a chemical attack or some such thing, and to film it. Quite clearly, there's no chemical attack. The people who are allegedly treating them don't have gloves on. That's fake. And how come he falls over but not the other guy?
Well, did you see how he winks at the camera before he falls over?
Yeah.
And then we're not even supposed to. I mean, it's insane.
Well, people fall for this because they don't know. They don't know what a real chemical attack is like, and so they fall for it. Just like they fell for the Boston Marathon bombing, just like they fall for all of these things because they don't know. They've no experience, and they live in virtual reality. So, but what's difficult about it, Alex, is that it's leading to war, and the Russian government, I think, is very responsible and sidesteps these provocations.
Well, let's just say it. I mean, Russia has been taking it on the chin to not start World War III.
Yeah, they sidestep the provocation rather than take the risk that massive numbers of people will be killed. So, in effect, it's the Russians that are honorable and have a moral conscience and are taking it on the chin in order, not because they're afraid of us, certainly not in the Syrian context, but because they realize they're dealing with psychopaths. If you look at the United States in the last 17 years, it has destroyed in whole or part 7 countries. There's millions of dead, maimed, orphaned, dispossessed Muslims. And so the Russians know they're dealing with psychopaths. And so they keep sidestepping these provocations because they don't want to see the world go up in a massive war.
I agree. Let's stop here and come back and break this down. And to be clear, there are real chemical attacks. There are real things that happen. Some of these attacks have killed people. It's just the white helmets and others have been caught also staging PR stunts that they show to exacerbate and tag on to things. And they've been caught. That's a fact. Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former editor, the editor of the Wall Street Journal, back when it was a real newspaper, is here. Also, father of Reaganomics and much more. We were showing some footage of one of the reported latest chemical attacks. The rebels have been caught launching real chemical attacks. The whole Arab Spring has killed over 1 million people. It's a horrible crime. Women are being sold as sex slaves in Libya again. So there's real suffering. But if you get into the Middle East and the whole history of them staging things for PR purposes, and the white helmets have been caught reenacting attacks and things like that, and our media puts it out as real, you cannot deny this latest footage is fake. In fact, let's just back it up for radio listeners. I'll describe it. So you got one of the supposed doctors, pro-rebel activists appear to have staged last hug photo. It went viral, claiming to show young victims of the Doma gas attack in their last embrace. Victims can be clearly seen on 2 separate floors in aftermath footage, placed in positions at collection identification point. It's very, very sad to even make jokes about that, because there have been some real chemical attacks, and then it's always goes back to the rebels. But here's some of this footage. Back it up slowly for TV viewers. I'm going to describe it for radio listeners. Okay, here's the supposed doctor. pumping air into the young boy who is supposedly convulsing there. Now, look, he winks at the camera person, looks over at the other doctor, like, get ready. He falls back. Both cameras then zoom in right as he falls back. Oh, in between the two children. And the other little kid there starts laughing. He stops convulsing and starts laughing and smiling because this is so ridiculous. But there you go. And notice he falls back from the chemical attack, but not the other doctors. Now, the media will say Jones says no chemical attacks ever happened. Oh, no, our CIA in the 1980s trained Saddam on how to spray folks with gas in the Iran-Iraq war. He did gas his own people, and our government gave him the weapons and helped direct the attacks. That's been declassified. But the girl with the incubator, she'd never been to Kuwait. Her dad owned a PR firm. We're going to play that after Roberts leaves us. But just going back to Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, we had Secretary of Defense Mattis saying we don't have evidence that they launched it. We had him the day after at the UN saying it. But then that night an attack is launched. Do we have that clip from John Bound's report queued up? I want to play a little excerpt of this because we went from we don't know they did it, the rebels have done it before, to Trump strikes, and our media then just started saying Assad did it. So our media was halfway admitting that, okay, there's no proof, but then as soon as the strikes happened, it's fake news. If we say investigate, here it is.
We can all see that a Russian disinformation campaign is in full force this morning. But Russia's desperate attempts at deflection cannot change the facts. A large body of information indicates that the Syrian regime used chemical weapons in Douma on April 7th. There is clear information demonstrating Assad's culpability. The pictures of dead children were not fake news. They were the result of the Syrian regime's barbaric inhumanity.
I believe there was a chemical attack, and we're looking for the actual evidence.
That's right, but I want to keep rolling with the clip. Back it up 10 seconds, because that's where I wanted to start was with Mattis, not with Haley. Just back it up 10 seconds and play it on through. This is important. Go ahead.
Syrian regime's barbaric inhumanity.
I believe there was a chemical attack, and we're looking for the actual evidence.
The Pentagon's lies about that investigation.
Why didn't you wait for that investigation to end?
Well, let's remember that OPCW and others have been blocked from entering Ghouta and Douma.
And the video evidence that the FSA were staging chemical weapons attack training simulations based on the hope and hubris of the globalist technocratic machine's notion that most of us are too stupid to notice their deception. John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
All right, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at all of this, and it's very, very sick to fake this stuff. We know some of it's been real in the past. The rebels have been caught doing it. But that's why we have to question this, because our government's been caught, and other governments doing this so much. Trump talked about how Hillary was the head of ISIS and Al-Qaeda along with Obama, and how all of this has been going on. He suddenly appears to be going with the neocons. How can we avert this? What does this signify? The deep state's only intensifying their attack on Trump. If he's rolling over to them, why?
You're asking me that question. There are two reasons. One, Israel intends to use the American military to destabilize Syria and Iran, just as occurred in Libya and Iraq. And the reason is that Syria and Iran supply Hezbollah, the Lebanese militia that has twice chased the Israeli army out of southern Lebanon, which Israel has tried to occupy because they want the water resources. So if Syria and Iran are destabilized, there's no one to supply Hezbollah, and the Israeli army would be able to occupy southern Lebanon. And that's one reason. And of course, the neoconservatives are tightly allied with Israel. Many of them are joint Israeli citizens. The other part of the answer is that the neoconservatives have an ideology of American world hegemony. And the easiest place for them to practice that, to establish that, is the Middle East. And they were succeeding until the Russians stepped in at Assad's request to help the Syrian army clear out the mercenaries that the United States had armed and sent there, calling them rebels. And so the neoconservatives do not want to give up their hegemony. They can't stand to be defeated on that score, and so the attacks on Syria are going to continue. This is not over, and it'd be a mistake for the Russians to think that this is over, that the fake attack that was pulled off the other night is the end of it. I don't think the Russians fully appreciate that when they step aside from these confrontations, they encourage more confrontations. And I think the provocations will get worse. And I see in this a highly dangerous situation. If the Russians had very firmly put their foot down and said no attack, not even a fake attack that we agreed to so Trump can save face, no attack, then this would have forced, I think, the Congress to come up and ask Trump why he was taking the nation to war when they had not been consulted. And that probably would have stopped the whole enterprise. But it's going to continue, and it's going to get worse and worse until finally the Russians have to respond in some major way. And that, of course, will have a much greater danger of World War III than had they stopped this make-believe attack.
And I totally agree with you, and I voted for Trump amongst all the reasons, mainly because he was right on Syria. I understood this trigger of the danger. Russia and others were told, hey, it's just so they get off my back, so he said, okay. And then now this second one, now the new rhetoric is emboldening the neocons, the deep staters, and it's only emboldened people saying Trump's a Russian agent. I know the approval ratings are up, but they can fake those. I think this is a major miscalculation by Trump, but we'll find out more as that unfolds. Dr. Paul Greg Roberts, thanks for joining us. We look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Look forward to it, Alex.
Hopefully there's not a nuclear war. We'll be back with Steve Pachenik. He knew both the sides, and he's been vehemently against this war. We'll find out what somebody with all his big deep state connections thinks on the other side. Newswars.com, Infowars.com. Stay with us.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.